Hello, my name is Andy. I'm in Lakeport Elementary School. My 5th grade class has been studying famous people. We have prepared our speeches by reading a biography and researching our character, and our costumes are homemade. We hope you enjoy listening to our stories of life. Let's begin now.
Hi, my name is Abigail Adams. I'm famous because I am John Adams' wife. He is the second president. When I was young, I was brought up in Weymouth, Massachusetts. I am one of 3 children. My father is a reverend. I was born November 4th in Weymouth, Massachusetts. I got married when I was 18 to John Adams. My husband John and I have 5 children. I received a little formal schooling. I read widely and became one of the most informed women in my children's names are the oldest John, then Abigail, Susan, Charles, and the youngest Thomas. My oldest John became president after his father's death. Abigail married William Stephen Smith. Susan died when she was an infant. Thomas, after he was born, his father died. When I was younger, that's when I decided to marry John Adams. John and I have 13 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. In November 1818, I became seriously ill with typhoid fever. I had to stay in bed, knew I'd die soon. October 28, 1818, I died. My importance to history is that I was the first woman to live in the White House. People did not just think of me as a housewife busy with laundry and all. No, I was a person in my own way, thinking ahead to the day when America would be free. People as well as men, women as well as men.
Hi, my name is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I am famous because of my skill for basketball. I have a 32-point game average, 32 points a game average, and my height of 7'2". When I was born, I was almost 2 feet tall, and I weighed 11 pounds 7 ounces. But in 5th grade, I was 6'7", and people made fun of me, but I got used to it. So I started playing basketball. In high school, I was the best player on the team. All the colleges wanted me to come and play for them, so I took a scholarship at UCLA. After I finished my 4 years at UCLA, I started to play for the Milwaukee Bucks. In 1970, I was traded to Los Angeles Lakers. In 1971, I changed my name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. My importance to history was I taught kids to stay away from drugs. I also said just because you are old doesn't mean you can't play pro sports, because I am 42 and just retired. And I told kids it's not whether you win, lose, or it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game.
I am a doctor. My name is Elizabeth Blackwell, the first female doctor. I was born February 3rd, 1821 in Bristol, England. I have 8 brothers and sisters and 4 aunts that live with my mom, dad, and I. In 1832, we moved to New York City, and in 1838, we moved to Cincinnati, Ohio. Then in 1844, I was determined to be a doctor. Our family doctor let me read a lot of his medical books and hoped I became a doctor. For me to become a doctor was very hard because no other woman ever became a doctor before. Although a lot of schools turned me down, I still looked for a new school. In 1847, I could see my dream becoming true. The General Medical School in New York accepted me, but the only reason they accepted me was because they thought I was joking. But in 1849, I became a doctor. I became the first female doctor. A while after I became a doctor, my little sister Emily followed in my footsteps and became a doctor too. I have helped people become well for many years in America and in England. My home now is in England.
Hello, my name is Daniel Boone. I am famous because I freed Kentucky from the Indians. and because I blazed many trails. I was born on November 2nd, 1734. When I was 10, my grandfather died. In that same year, I got my first gun. When I was 16, my mother, father, and all my sisters and brothers moved through Pennsylvania and on to the Yadkin Valley, North Carolina. I married Rebecca Bryant. In 1769, I left for Kentucky. In that same year, I came home. 2 years later, Rebecca and I and all the kids left for Kentucky. I helped build Boonesboro. It was named after me. A couple of years later, my brother-in-law was killed by Indians. Then all the deerskins were stolen by Indians. A couple of days after, my daughter and her friends went for a canoe ride. Then they were captured by Indians. Four other men and I went to the Indians and rescued our kids. I died in 1820 at the age of 86. My importance to history was that I helped fight in the French and Indian War. I also helped win the war at Boonesboro. I tamed the wilds from Georgia to North Carolina and from North Carolina to Kentucky.
Hello, my name is Jim Bridger. I was born in Richmond, Virginia, March 1804. My early life was not very hard. I had worked behind an inn. All I did was put the horses in the stable, and I had my way with horses. I lived with my parents from 1804 to 1812. Before I climbed my mountain when I worked at an inn, I had a Negro friend named Dan. Dan was my only friend and my best friend. My later life was a little fun. I killed animals for the money, furs, and meat. When I was in my teens, I climbed 18 mountains. Why I am famous? Because I was in the War of 1812. I was only 12 years old. Also, I discovered the Great Salt Lake in 1824. I died 72 years later. My importance to history. I was a guide. I built Fort Bridger. Also because I was a hunter, trapper, and a fur trader.
Hello, my name is Ty Cobb. The reason I am famous is I was once the best baseball player of all time. My lifetime batting average was .367, and I hold these records with the most hits with 2,444, stolen bases 892, and 297 singles, and 6,743 home runs in my lifetime. My early life was pretty dull because I had to work a lot, but my friends and I played baseball in my backyard. I was a troublemaker. I always took my neighbors' apples and threw them up against their barns. My later life was more exciting than my early life because I made the Hall of Fame in 1936, and I managed the Detroit Tigers and the California Athletics. The reason I am important to history is I was once one of the first players to be elected in the Hall of Fame.
Hello, I am Virginia Dare. I was the first English child born in the New World. That's why I'm famous. My parents were Ananus and Eleanor Dare. I was born August 18, 1587. I went to live with the Chowanoks when I was very young. I lived on Roanoke for a very short time. The reason I was taken to live with the Chowanoks is because we were under attack by the Indians. Manteo took me to live with them. Manteo was a brave warrior. He helped us a lot. I had a good later life. I could draw pictures very well. Most people said I could tell good stories too. My step-parents are Oscar and New Moon. They were very good to me. I was born August 18, 1587. I had lots of friends. There were Little Duck and his sisters. Queen Cousine was also a very good friend. She helped me in many ways. I'm important to history because I was the first English child born in the New World. I'm Virginia Dare.
Hello, my name is Amaya Earhart. I was the first woman to cross the Atlantic Ocean by air. I flew from Newfoundland to Lakeport, Wales. I wrote a book about it. I was the first woman to fly in both directions. I was lost in the Pacific Ocean July 4th, 1937. I was born in Autzen, Kansas. I was born on July 24th, 1898. I have a nickname, Mama. I got it because my great-grandpa used to call my grandma Mala when she was bad. My sister's name is Merle. I don't like it when that name, so I call her Pidge. I was a nurse for wounded soldiers during World War I. I had some practice as a nurse then, but I didn't want to be one. I married a publisher. His name is George Putnam. We didn't have any kids. I was important because I was the first woman to fly over the Atlantic Ocean. I made it an importance in history because I started women flying in planes all over now. Now there are women pilots.
Hello, my name is Thomas Alva Edison. I am famous because I invented the light bulb and many other useful inventions. In my lifetime, I patented 1,093 inventions. I was once the Wizard of Menlo Park because I made so many inventions there. In my early life, I was very curious. I had only 3 months of schooling. After those 3 months, my mom taught me because she was a former teacher. I would spend hours doing experiments. Once in a while, I would start a fire, but there usually wasn't too much damage done. My later life wasn't too exciting because most of the time I had little money. Although I always managed to find a job, I even managed to hire a team. One of the inventions invented while I had the team was the phonograph. My importance to history is, if I didn't invent most of my inventions, we would have a harder life.
Hello, I'm Albert Einstein. I earned my fame from the equations. I'm also famous for my theory of relativity. I was born in Munich, Germany, 1869. I made the equations E equals mc2. That means energy equals mass and velocity times the square root. When I was 5, my father brought me a compass. I went to the circus and saw a boomerang. I once saw a stork with a broken leg. I went to save it. I nearly drowned until a young man, Max Tamley, came and helped me. I saved my sister from getting bit by a bat with the boomerang. When I was 13, our shop got closed down, so we had to move to Italy. I couldn't because I had to get a degree from the school. I played the violin in a symphony orchestra. I told the professors in Australia about the eclipse of the sun. It happened. I moved to Trenton, New Jersey to become a professor. My mother always wanted me to become a professor.
Hi, my name is Benjamin Franklin, and I'm famous because I love to do experiments. One of the experiments I invented was light. How I did it was I took a wire and put it up in the air out of my chimney. Then I took a piece of metal and put it on going down the stairs into my living room. At night, when everyone was sleeping, lightning hit the wire. And down in my living room there was bright yellow light shining. I was so happy my experiment had worked. In my early life, I was playing with my friends. We were swimming in the pond. I was always getting tired too easy, so I invented the kite. The kite took me across the water very fast. How I worked it was the wind caught the kite and dragged me across the water. I beat all my friends and they were surprised it had worked. In my later life, I married Debbie Franklin. We lived in Massachusetts and I had a printing shop of my own. My independence to history was my electricity and how I invented it, and it was also my kite and how I worked it.
Hi, my name is Mary Jameson. I am famous because I got captured by Indians and I lived with them for a while. I was born at sea while my parents were coming from Ireland to America. My family settled on a farm in Pennsylvania. I was out getting the horses and the Shawnee Indians captured me. A team of French soldiers captured my family in 1758.
Hello, my name is Helen Keller. I learned to speak and do many other things while I was blind. I even went to college. After college, I traveled and lectured often to help the blind. I wrote some books too.
I was born in Tuscumbia, Alabama on June 27, 1880. There were 38 states in the Union, and Rutherford B. Hayes was president. I was a normal baby until I caught a cold and turned very sick. When I recovered from the sickness, I couldn't see, hear, or talk. From then on, I had the same problem, except I learned to talk. I graduated from Radcliffe College in 1904. I went to college for 4 years. After college, I became concerned with the conditions of other blind and deaf people. I traveled to hospitals and talked to other blind people. I encouraged them to try to be happy again. I was 88 when I died. After all I did for other people, I hope that people who are blind, deaf, or can't talk have more hope in becoming normal.
Hello, my name is Abraham Lincoln. I am famous because I was the 16th president and stopped slavery. I was born February 12, 1809. I lived in Kentucky. I moved from Kentucky when I was 7. My family and I moved to Pigeon Creek. Shortly after we moved, my mom got milk sick. On an October morning, my mom died. I have one sister. Her name is Sarah. I have my father. His name is Thomas. A little while after my mother died, my father remarried. Then a year later, a school opened up. I went to the school every chance I had. I went to Springfield. There was a dance. I met a lady named Mary Todd. Mary and I got married. We had 4 kids. Edward died when he was born. There was Robert, William, and Thomas. I spent all my free time with them. I studied real hard. I became a lawyer. After a few months, I only took cases that I thought was right. I have lived in Kentucky, Springfield, Pigeon Creek, New Salem, and Illinois. I lived in New Orleans a while, but I could not wait to leave because there was slavery. I failed Senate several times. I ran a few times before I made president. I had 2 nervous breakdowns. I was the 16th president. One good thing I did was stop slavery. I died in 1865 from a guy who loved the Confederates. He shot me. The next morning I died.
Hello, my name is James Madison. I'm famous because I was a president in 1809. I was the 4th president. I was elected to the Continental Congress in 1779. I was served at the Continental Convention in 1789. I was born in Port Conway, Virginia. I was born on March 16, 1751. I was born in the home of my parents' mothers. I was the oldest of 12 children. In my later life, I was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. In 1789, I was appointed Secretary of our state in 1801. I was re-elected President. I was served at the Virginia Continental Convention in 1829. I'm important to history because I was a president for 4 years and I was the 4th president.
Hello, my name is Mickey Mantle. I'm famous because I was one of the only people that could bat switch-handed. I made the Hall of Fame in 1974. In my early life, I played for the Oakland Little League. I had an operation on my knee. The doctor said I could never play sports again. 2 years later, I decided to play sports. In my later life, I was offered a job with the New York Yankees. My payment was low, but I wanted to play. I was not that good in my first couple games, but as I went on, I got better. I was the first one to hit the ball at Yankee Stadium into the river. In 1953, I broke my leg and was in the hospital. I hit 18 home runs, In the World Series, I set a lot of records. I spent my whole career with the New York Yankees.
Hello, my name is Florence Nightingale. I was born in 1820 in England. I died in 1920. I always loved nursing. The first thing I loved to do was nurse my dolls. I pretended that they were sick. Then I nursed the animals in our farm. As I grew older, I knew I had to become a nurse, but my parents thought that I should not become a nurse. Finally, in 1892, my parents let me go to Germany to study nursing. I nursed men, women, and children. When the Crimean War broke out, they definitely needed nursing. I chose 40 nurses to go with me. We were badly needed by the soldiers, but the army officers did not want us there to become nurses, but they wanted us to be cooks. Because of our care, the wounded soldiers were feeling a lot better. The officers saw our care and they were impressed. Our work was very hard, but it was worth it. The wounded soldiers gave me a nickname called the Lady with the Lamp, because at night I would take my lamp and check on them. After the war, people knew nursing was important. That's why I'm important to history.
Hello, my name is Walter Riley. I was a great explorer, and I was a good friend of Queen Elizabeth. I was born in Devonshire, England in 1552. I helped set up the Roanoke Island colony. I set up expeditions to explore North America. I wanted to go on the first ship that left England, but because of the danger of the war, Queen Elizabeth would not let me. I was 35 years old when we came back from Roanoke. I owned a big ship called the Golden Hind. I'm famous because of my expeditions and the new colonies that were built on the new lands of North America. Also, I am known as an author for my writings. I have a city named after me, Raleigh, in North Carolina.
Hello, my name is Paul Revere. I'm most famous for my ride. It occurred April 18, 1775, midnight. I rode through several towns warning people British troops were coming. I'm also famous for my pieces of silver such as kitchenware, jewelry, and picture frames. I was born January 1st, 1735. I started school when I was 8. I rang a bell in a Christ church when I was 12 and practiced several times a night. I started working with my father in his silversmith shop as his apprentice when I was 12 also. When I was 16, I made fun of King George by drawing a weird picture of him and almost got in jail for it. I took over my father's business when he died. I married twice, the first time to Sarah Orne, the second time to Rachel Walker. When I was 28, I joined a club called the Solstitution. After 10 years, the Boston Tea Party occurred. I was one of the leaders in it. I learned how to roll copper to put on the Navy boats. I learned how to bell cast. I could also help in fixing people's teeth. My importance to history was my ride because I warned and saved many lives when I told everyone the British are coming.
Hello, my name is Babe Ruth. The reason I am famous is because of my home run record of 2,873 home runs, and because of the large crowds I attracted. I was one of the most valuable players on the New York Yankees. Then I earned the name Babe. My real name was George Herman Ruth. I was born in 1895, and one day when I was 3, my father bought me my first baseball glove. And when I got older, all my friends and I played baseball in my neighborhood. I started the majors when I was 19. I hit 20 home runs my first year. When I reached 24, I hit 2,865 home runs, and I played the positions pitcher, left fielder, and sometimes catcher. I retired in 1935. I died in 1948. I hit 6 home runs my last game. I was in the All-Stars lots of times, and my record was topped for a long time. And I'm famous because of my abilities to play baseball.
Hello, my name is Susie King Taylor. I am famous for being a Civil War nurse. When I was small, around 14, my grandmother woke me up one morning and said the Yankees are coming. I ran outside and there was a stagecoach waiting for me. I left Savannah happy. I wondered what was going to happen next. Soon I got into a big boat and headed for Fort Pulaski. In my later life, I learned how to read and could write around 15. I soon became a teacher for black adults. 2 years later, I volunteered myself for a Civil War nurse. I met a man and I married him. I am important to history because of all the many lives I've saved and for being a Civil War nurse.
Hello, my name is Harriet Tubman. I am famous because I freed many slaves in Maryland. I grew up as a slave in Maryland. When I was 16, I got in an accident because I interfered with the overseer who was trying to catch a runaway slave. When I was 23, I escaped from the slave quarters. I headed north for the Underground Railroad. I had my freedom for 2 years. I came back 2 years after I left. I and the other slaves at the slave quarters escaped together for our freedom. My later life was spent in Auburn, New York. I had two children and a good husband. I died in 1913. I am famous for history because for freeing the slaves in Maryland. I was known for my honesty. I was thought of as a very great woman.
Hello, my name is Martha Washington. I am famous because I married George Washington. I also helped people in the war. I banished the wounds. I was born in 1731. I lived in Williamsburg, Virginia. I did not go to school. When I was little, everybody called me Patsy. Until I was married, I did not go to Virginia. I was married when I was 17. I married Daniel Parker Custis. He was 13 years older than I was. We had 4 kids. 2 died before George Washington was president. 2 died after he was president. I was 27 when I married the president. I was the first lady to live at Mount Vernon. I married George Washington June 6, 1759. I went to live at Mount Vernon. I traveled a long distance during the Revolutionary War. I went to meet George in a camp. I spent a year there. I did not like being the first lady. I felt like a state prisoner. I am famous because I was a first lady, and I married George Washington.
Thank you for watching our 5th grade biographies. Our characters are announcer Andy McPharlin,
I'm Gale, Sarah Markov,
Lou Alcindor, Jason Christine,
Elizabeth Blanco,
Daniel Boone, Michael Hall,
Jim Bridgen, Chris Reed,
Todd Cobb, Joe Fry,
Virginia Dare, Libby Wallen,
Mariah Earhart, Jamie Reed,
Thomas Edison, Chris Dennis,
Albert Einstein, Jamie Eddy,
Benjamin Franklin, Katrina Jaywar,
Mary Jameson, Jennifer Faith, Helen Keller, Lori Westbrook, Abraham Lincoln, Sandra Tomlinson, James Madison, Howard Roosevelt,
Mickey Mantle, Chad Percy,
Florence Nightingale, Casey Miles,
Walter Riley, Daniel Bartino,
Paul Revere, Jacob Williams,
Babe Ruth, Randy Hyatt,
Susan King Taylor, Jennifer Hillbaum,
Harriet Tubman, Athena Bedford, Martha Washington, Chris Cameron. We hope we have brought our biographies to life.